I have taught thousands of saxophone players how to improvise with pretty much a 100% success rate. And that is because I keep it really simple and start at the very beginning. So you might be thinking, what is the very beginning? Is it learning a bunch of theory? No. Is it studying chords? Still no. Is it memorizing licks and learning a bunch of vocabulary? Absolutely not. All of those are very important topics when it comes to learning how to improvise, but they are not anywhere near the very beginning. Dramatic pause for suspense. The very first step in learning how to improvise is to build confidence making things up from scratch. That's it. You need to build the confidence making things up before you can do all this other stuff, before you can add in licks or study your chords or make the transitions or that kind of stuff. You need to build confidence making things up from scratch. That leads right into everyone's biggest fear when it comes to improv. How do I know what to play? Believe it or not, the easiest thing to do is limit your choices. So if you don't limit your choices, you have all these notes to choose from, you have all this stuff to choose from, you're like, I don't know what to play, what do I do? This is all so confusing. If I just give you 3 notes to improvise and tell you how long to improvise and exactly how to do it, it becomes really simple. So to start off, I'm gonna improvise using just 3 notes, an F, a G, and a B flat. And I'm gonna treat the G like it is the most important of those 3 notes. F, G, and B flat. Now I'm gonna make up a phrase, improvise, using just those 3 notes, but I'm gonna do it over 2 measures. So I'm gonna play a 2-measure phrase and improvise using just 3 notes, F, G, and B flat. And this is what it's gonna sound like. Improvisation, 3 notes, 2-measure phrase. Now I am using a 2-measure phrase because in the world of music, 2-measure phrases are the most simple type of musical sentence. So if I don't play a 2-measure phrase and I just keep going on using those 3 notes, improvising using those 3 notes, this is what it sounds like. I'm just kind of meandering on and on. There aren't groups of phrases. In other words, I'm not playing, speaking, improvising, and sentences. This is what it sounds like when I play in 2-measure sentences, phrases. That sounds like a complete thought. So we're only a couple minutes into this tutorial, and you already have the basic idea of what improvisation is. So you just want to keep practicing this so that you get really confident with making things up from scratch, even though we have a limited palette of notes. Here's another. Now I'm playing it a little bit faster of a tempo. If you're just starting off, you might want to play slower, but for this tutorial, I'm going to do it at a quicker tempo. Now, once you're comfortable making up these 2-measure phrases, you want to do it more like a conversation. So your first 2-measure phrase is going to sound like a question, and your second 2-measure phrase is going to sound like an answer. So it sounds like you're talking to yourself. Could you hear those question and answer phrases? So I have a conversation going on with myself. That is a great starting point for improvisation. Spoiler alert, you are not always just going to use 2-measure phrases, but that is a fantastic starting point. Once you get really comfortable with it, you're going to break up how long your phrases are. Sometimes they'll be shorter, sometimes they'll be longer. In the beginning, shoot for 2-measure phrases so that you have a complete musical sentence. All right, let me backtrack just a little bit and show you exactly how I am turning these notes into improvisation. So if I just start with a G and improvise using only a G for 2 measures, this is what it's going to sound like. Again, that's super boring. I'm just playing 1 note, but I'm improvising, I'm building confidence. From there, I can add in another note. In this case, I will add in an F natural, so I'll be playing G's and F naturals. Then I can add in the B flat. Now would be a great time to hit that subscribe button and give me a thumbs up. Again, I'm taking a set of notes. In the beginning, it was one note, then two notes, then three notes, and I'm just adding a rhythm to it so that it turns into a two-measure musical sentence known as a phrase. Here is another disclaimer. At this point in our improv careers, we are not trying to play the world's coolest solo. We're just trying to improvise and come up with two-bar phrases. So don't feel like you have to play the world's most amazing improv solo when you're just learning. Just try to get really confident with what you're playing and practice adding a rhythm to the notes you have to choose from. The notes I have to choose from, how do I know those? That is the scariest part, especially in the beginning. How do you know what notes to choose from? When I chose F, G, and B flat, they were not random. I start off by teaching from the blues scale. So the blues scale already sounds like a musical idea. This is a G blues scale. Now, obviously that doesn't sound like your traditional scale, and that is why I like to use it to start the improv journey, because when you just play the scale, it already sounds like a musical idea. So the notes in this scale for the G blues scale, which we are playing today, are G, B flat, C, C sharp, D, and F natural. Now, some teachers like to start off by using chord tones. Others like to start off by using the pentatonic scale. Some like to start off with major scales or Mixolydian scales. I prefer the blues scale just because it already sounds like an idea and it's really easy to come up with two-bar phrases using your blues scale. Now, we can't play three-note solos forever, so let's add the next note in the blues scale. So that would be a C natural. So now we're going to do the exact same thing that we did before. We're going to play a two-measure phrase, but this time we are going to use the notes F, G, B flat, and C. Of course, G is our main note, so we're going to make that the most important note because we are in the key of G. This is really important. Don't start all of your phrases on the same note. So since we're playing the G blues scale, don't start all of your notes on a G. Sometimes start on an F, sometimes start on a B flat, sometimes start on a C, sometimes start on a G. And same thing with ending your phrase. Make sure that you are playing all the notes and that all of your phrases don't sound the same. And when I say make sure they don't sound the same, that goes for your rhythm also. Don't just keep repeating the same rhythm with different notes. That sounds like this. Did you hear how every one of those phrases had the same rhythm? I was playing different notes, but they all had the same rhythm. That is a pitfall that new improv students fall into all of the time. So make sure you are switching up your rhythms. From there, we would add the rest of the notes in the G blues scale. So now I'm going to improvise by adding in that C sharp. So my notes are F, G, B flat, C, and C sharp. Then I would add in the D. And then, of course, use all of those notes in the G blues scale over the whole range of your saxophone. Now, I want to overemphasize that this is just the very first step in your improvisation journey. From there, the process continues. Now, in my sax school, the Scott Paddock Sax School, I do have an improv course, and it goes step by step through the entire journey from beginning, from playing your very first improv lines, all the way up through early advanced. So if you're looking for step-by-step instructions, check me out at the Scott Paddock Sax School.